Hi. Hi, Guillermo.
Hello, hello.
Hi. Sometimes I don't know how long I should wait because, yeah, but it's fine. Yeah. Welcome back to the Guillermo and Lee conversation. It's about the idea of being original and the original story from Guillermo. So last time, let's just remind our audience, what to sum up the last time. I remember have you have joined this community in Santiago, yeah.
Yes,
And so I think you said you enjoyed the life there, but for some reason you later left the community. Do you want to tell us the story?
yes. We were together for 1 year and more than 1 year, I think, with these people. We evolved a lot. We did have a trip to the countryside to visit each other's birthplaces. And then eventually we managed to transfer ourselves from one location to another, which is it's a remarkable fit for communities in general, because relocation is very it's full of difficulties, but we managed to make it. So that was a good sign, and it was a good feeling of what we were creating with each other. No? And the thing it was like when we went there, Santiago is maybe like a place where there are certain beliefs that they are not so scientific, but that they become part of the normal life. And then one of the perceptions we had is that the person who built this house had difficulties with his wife or something, and then he even made build a room for himself which was disconnected from the whole house, and it was only you could only access to it from within the house through a window. It was
So window.
self-made
Oh,
house, yes. So it was really strange. Maybe it was not even meant to really communicate, but just to go through, but just to communicate. So when we occupy the house and everybody choose its own room, me and my girlfriend, we got this this place that was this room specifically, no? And I would just found it funny that there is a window like facing the maybe it was the dining room of the whole house. So we were a bit separated, but because we were in some way in a little bit of a position of leadership, it wasn't so strange either. There was one girl who had only a curtain as a wall because there was not so many rooms, and she was kind of so special. She was happy with that, not having walls or even a door or nothing. She was like in some kind of
just a
corridor.
wall. Just a wall.
Yeah, it was in a corridor. So it was. I don't know exactly, but I remember that we were really strange in this sense. Like there was a gay couple who had a place. Probably I don't remember exactly. This girl was in the way with this curtain, and we were in this other room. And I think there were more. There were more people belonging to this community, but I don't know if at that point they were there. There were like more rooms, I think, and few people more. So we spent there a few months, and then eventually we convinced this tenant that was previously with us. It was like a foreign girl from Canada, actually from Montreal. And then she was living in the previous house. One day we were searching for a new person to rent the room because we had to pay the rent for the whole house altogether. So it was our responsibility to fill a room when it was emptied for some reason. And we have such a room where many people were passing by. And then one day, the techniques to do that before internet, it was like writing some papers and putting them in the shops, put it on the wall, and then just hope that somebody would kind of search for a room in this area. And one day I had this feeling, I opened widely the doors and left them open because I say, there were doors that we were always closed because it's kind of unsafe neighborhood. So I left them open and I said, like, if I let them like that, somebody will come. Because we really needed this person not to pay more rent. And then this girl came with a bike, with a race bike. Obviously a foreigner talking in Spanish with an accent, asking if we have a room to rent. So it was like a very strange coincidence, but it was cool. She moved inside immediately. She didn't integrate so much in the community because she was busy with the university and with some jobs that he had. She was basically working in this room, which was the only room without windows. But it was the way where it was placed like that. And she always had the door closed and she was working there. And then she was kind of distant, not on purpose, but because she didn't have so much time. And then we could always hear, the door was next to the kitchen where we used to meet and socialize most of the day. And then we could hear like she was typing in the keyboards, It was like the whole day, not all the time, but wherever she was there, she was typing on the keyboard, and it was this sound like tiki 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 tiki. And actually, the Chileans gave her this name. They call her the tiki tiki because she was all the time producing this sound, and we couldn't see much of her. And there are a lot of prejudice in Santiago about foreigners, and there are a lot of like, I think. White girls that they are somehow attractive, they get this double treatment there. Once some people hate them because they are like Americans or they look like Americans or Europeans, and other people worship them because they are so beautiful and so different. And it's really, really. She told me many times that it was really difficult actually to walk around because everybody wanted to interact with her in a positive or a negative way. Well, she entered there and then she was kind of fine. She speaks Spanish kind of good, so we could communicate normally. And we had a nice connection with her as friends. No, I don't know. I was interested in foreigners. I had these conversations with her where I was a little bit like a bit patronizing her, some of her ideas. I don't know exactly why, what was the realization, but it was something like I would make jokes and make all kind of jokes with her about whatever. It was the type of energy we had. And she made some interviews actually with the camera with me because
Is
she
it
was
the one Guillermo Celo?
It's something you saw on YouTube?
It's 4 years ago. Yeah, you sent two to me. Yeah, one is a kind of interview. You are making some paper cutting with a scissor.
Yes,
and
probably.
and the other one's the river. The
Yes,
river.
the river, it was done here in Slovenia with a friend, Giga. It was a posterior thing. But this video that I show is the period we were talking about, no? It's exactly this period. Like this interview was already in the new house, and she was doing this because she was a filmmaker, and she was actually she ended up making a movie about me, but she lost the original file and we only got a very low resolution file, which you can see in a phone, in a computer, but you cannot project bigger. And it doesn't look so well either. Maybe in a phone it would work well.
Yeah.
And she somehow lost, like it happened to all these filmmakers, they lose sometimes the hard disk or something breaks, and then she lost the original. But by chance, I have one copy of this small. I will send it to you. I send you this link so that you would browse on my YouTube channel, so you would find other options, other short videos also that she made. And then she compiled all these videos in one movie that it was called the player of the flute player in French, and it implied the experience we have there. So we became friends. And she was traveling quite often, and then when we make the move from one house to the next, she was not around. But then when she came back, she got in contact with us, and we told her, we actually found, we invited her to come because she was kind of part of this community, as distant as she was. And then she found a room in the next house. in the adjacent house by the neighbors, there was a free room, and she rented. So we were almost there. It was a very strange. it was a little strange situation because we were all together in this house and we had a garden, and then after the garden we could see her window, let's say. And she was a kind of solitary person also, so she was not all the time with us, but she would come and go. And then one day, what happens? Yeah, we end up separating with my girlfriend, and then we have more and more troubles, and it was piling and piling, very bad feelings that were coming almost from nowhere, because before moving we were kind of fine, we were so well that we were even able to rally the whole house into moving somewhere, which was a process that took months. But I don't know, maybe this is what I mentioned before, these superstitious beliefs in Santiago, that the energy of the previous person who lived in the house might have influenced ourselves. Now I don't believe in that, but in that point, it was the explanation that everybody found, basically the most reasonable.
It's like the ghost. Are you talking about
yeah, some kind of
energy
pattern that remains in the house and affects the new owner or something. That's some kind of cultural feature of.
We have this as well, yeah, in Taiwan.
Yeah, it's only probably in this European non-religious communities or American non-religious that actually all these things do not exist or they are not taken seriously. But I think everywhere around, people still believe in those things, even if science cannot actually explain them or justify them. So, well, we end up separating with my girlfriend after all this work and all this community and everything. And but it was the problem, like I couldn't just disappear because I was still there, and I didn't have. We were in a bit of maybe nobody wanted to leave because the place was like an ideal place that we worked so much to obtain. So I was trying to to go on living in this place without relating to her as a partner. And this what happens a couple of weeks, and then one day this girl came to visit, and it was some kind of like an completely irrational event where we were talking, like always, making some jokes, and suddenly it was like a veil would be like open, and then we felt all this romantic experience. And so I think she had at this point a tent because she was not she didn't found yet this room or something like that or something. So we ended up sleeping in this tent, and the next day the whole community found out because the experience was so irrational that we just left everything there. I think so they found the situation, and then there was a whole scandal because my ex-girlfriend was still in pain, and she, even if we were already separated, she took it as some kind of betrayal. And actually, because she was a foreigner, everybody thought that she was by default evil. Just because she was white and blue eyes, she was like the depiction of Lucifer or something, which is a real feeling in many people there.
Wow.
That this beautiful European is like a force of evil. Not in the Christian way, even if we pronounce this name, but I don't know. It's just like some kind of social identity or something. Like because usually people get hurt when they interact with Europeans because they are in such a different reality that at some point they are much more safe individuals than the locals, because they can always just call the fathers and then the helicopter come and take them, and then you burn there alone. So it's this prejudice, this very strong
prejudice, some kind of
like a racism, but inverted, like from the more Indian mestizo population against the white Europeans. So she was the devil. And then they got in a collective paranoia where they thought that we had actually an adventure with this girl for the whole year. That they didn't believe that it was something like suddenly opens like a storytelling, and they thought that we were that I was unfaithful for the whole year, and that we were both lying to them for the whole year because I was Argentinian, which was also like. susceptible of discrimination, because the Argentinians are kind of sharp and they're much sharper than the Chileans in the sense that they can be. It's harder to trust them, you know, because they're more selfish and they're more I don't know, self-determined. Chileans are more like into some kind of consensus seeking and a little bit more homogeneous common understanding of what is good and what is bad, and more collective, more prone to collectivity than Argentinians. No? Argentinians are more like lone wolves that they will serve themselves eventually, in contrast to what is for the Chileans. No? The Chileans, as far as I saw, you know, it depends a lot about the communities, but these were all artists and political protesters and something. So it was the feeling that they were boiling for sacrificing themselves for these political causes, and I would never do that. You know, I got zero chance that I will like let myself get killed in a protest just to make a statement of some sort. But for them, it was more like a heroic type of act. You know, that they would all share like collectively. You know, so it was a bit different. So suddenly it was the foreigner and the Argentinian who were actually evil, and they were lying and deceiving them for the whole year. And there was some kind of strange phenomena where this girl which was my ex-girlfriend, we had a little bit, unadmittedly, this slight role of mother and father of the community. So they all, as I think it happens in many real families, they all side to protect the mother, no, the pain of the mother, and they went against me, except one friend with whom we were more connected and whom I brought there personally. So he was the only one who was still at least curious of hearing my story, no, instead of already being sure what was how evil we were and all that. So we had to quit immediately, you know. We were like kicked out of the house. My ex-girlfriend burned all my paintings and my costumes from Carnival, my mask, my books, my paper, my clothing. She just made a big fire and they all watch how all get burnt. And I knew about that because this guy who was still somehow not against me, he called me and he said, "Look, I think they are just burning everything. I couldn't do nothing." And then they found out that he was telling me this on the phone, and they actually also punished him in some way, you know, for betraying and for allying with evil or something like that. It sounds a bit humoristic, but these were actually the real words that were used, and I think that in the peak of this pain and drama, they were really experiencing something like that, something like a bit esoteric, or like some kind of like victimization towards forces that they are like forces of evil or something. So we had to run away. I called some friends. And then I found that one of my friends had a room free, and then I offered her to go there. Because they also went to the neighbor house and they forced the neighbor to kick her out. Not only from their house, but they actually went there and make all the scandal and said that she was evil, and then the owner canceled the contract with her as well. Well, very, very, very active.
It's really terrible. I mean, I cannot imagine if I go as a foreigner and then I have to be kicked out because I just fall in love with someone. Like
yes, yeah. And just there was a particular feeling, but this is what happens. Like everybody would side with them because they are Chileans and we were the foreigners, and she was even worse because she kind of was the evil who broke our happy couple or something like that. So, well, this was the story of how the things became with my ex-girlfriend and how I started a new story with this friend. And then we disappeared. They confiscated all her goods. They took her super expensive backpack and sleeping bag and tent and the bike, and they refused to give it back to her. And she just had to give it up. You know, she couldn't believe it because for Canadian standards, this is like something that It has nothing
Criminal.
to do with
Yeah.
emotions, but they were many and they were local, so they actually enforced this. And I actually, when I got the judgment of all of them, and I talked to them, I think probably only once. Then I stopped communication, and then we were in the same city, but we didn't communicate. I only communicate with this friend who rescued one of my batiks, one of my paintings. He managed to sneak it when they didn't see him, so it wasn't burned. And then yes, eventually after months and of that, I realized that they actually were not so angry at me, that I could actually go back and join the community if I wanted. They were more angry at her, and it was the first reaction that was so aggressive, and also this way of like siding with the girl because she was really in pain, like very deep for a long time, because the way she took it, the whole experience, and this fantasy of us betraying for a long time, which never happened. So they, but yeah, I felt really bad, and I went through this experience of like rejection and losing all the world that I was building for 2 years. But at the same time, I had the novelty of this new adventure with this new person. And for me, it was actually maybe in a way like the epic feeling of building this community and moving it to a better place. It kind of ended there in a way. In a way, the future that we had there wasn't like so bright as all what happened before, because it was maybe it was a challenging transformation between living in the city but actually trying to make a garden and then trying to have a life a little bit more in nature. I don't remember exactly, but it was the fact that my relationship with my ex-girlfriend deteriorated so quickly and so fast somehow took away all the meaning of being in this community, because suddenly it became like a hard situation, a painful situation. And then I didn't see myself so much there. It was not the same anymore. So I had this other new adventure, new situation. I found a room for both, and we lived there, I think, around 3 months. She was finishing her university, and I was doing the same things, art, and I was at that time collecting old furniture that was in the streets constantly, because there was a period where the England was very connected with Santiago de Chile, and there was a lot of Baroque furniture in every house and things. And then this was like, I don't know, 200 years ago. And now the people were throwing them away and buying IKEA new things because there was not anymore, they didn't see value anymore on that. So I would go out and then I just come back with like a pile of like very fine wooden pieces that I would somehow make collages with them, like assemble them in alternative ways and create some kind of sculptures and things like that. So one of the things I did in this period was something that they call the totem of the words. It was like with these pieces of furniture, like legs of chairs and parts of different things that were carved by hand like 200 years ago. I created frames of all sorts for words, and the words I paint them with like metal paint for metals, by pouring from the can like a trickle of color. And with this I would draw. It was only one chance to make it, so I would write these words with different colors and somehow decorate them in some way. I have some photos in some old blog about them. And then at the end, because we decided, one day she says, look, I will go to visit my friend, my sister in France. And if you want, you can come with me. And then if you cannot, if you don't like it, you come back in 3 months, and that's my gift for your birthday or something like that. Because I was not in an economic condition or with the capabilities to actually do the trip on my own because of the paperwork and because probably I didn't even have a passport or something like that. So when she proposed that, she offered to pay the tickets actually. with her job that she was doing this tiki 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 tiki. So she has some extra money, and we were in a good moment. So she wanted to actually, in a way, her perception since the beginning when she saw me in this community, like had some kind of workshop on the roof, very very primitive and very very rustic and precarious, where I was framing things and painting and doing already like I always but this was on the rooftop, you know, there was nothing on the planks of the rooftop. I put some wood and then I create some kind of structure and I was working there. And she thought like somebody like me would be more, would have a better lifestyle in Europe, you know. That was her feeling since the beginning. And then at some point when we became a couple and everything, she wanted to offer this opportunity to me. And so I think I got the passport. It was a really good moment for me because I was like an assistant of a conceptual artist, one guy called Bernardo Oyarzun, which is a very famous artist there in Santiago in the conceptual world. And I was by chance entered in contact with him for some kind of job, and then we connected, and I was very able to help him. So I was his personal assistant, and we were doing jobs all the time here and there, or installing his exhibitions, or doing the exhibitions in the museums. He had a plotter machine. It was a machine that cut the letters, and so everything you read in the museum is made in this way there. No, it was like he had to design all these stickers that would be on the walls, and all the names of every artwork would be done one by one, letter by letter. Actually, we had to transfer them from this paper with glue to the wall, and there was a special technique, and we were doing this in all these museums, and he invited me to these openings of exhibitions, and I really enjoy this world, which has nothing to do with what I had access directly in my ordinary life. You know? This was just because he was an artist and he was famous. He would open this world to me because we were starting to become friends. And then he actually asked me if I would like to become his almost like some kind of manager of this thing.
Oh,
Because he had some extra job coming for him or something, or he trusts me. And then I said, "Oh, well, I would really love it. Looks like I'm going to Europe, you know." So he wished me the best, and then we lost contact. You know, we barely talk again, and so it was really like after 2 years in Santiago, I was making real money there. I mean, compared to what I used to do by playing the flute in the bars or something, working with him was more like a solid income. And then I managed to I work a lot, and then I try to collect a bit of money to make the big cross. But actually, after like a long saving and something, I collected 70 euros or something like that. This was my capital to live in Europe,
in
you know,
France? Yeah.
for 3 months. Yeah, we arrived in Paris. Yeah.
Oh.
And then this was the contrast between how much the money was worth in Chile compared to Europe, you know, especially France. And then so yeah, we made a trip. She had to make a whole procedure of borrow me in theory some thousands of euros so that I could have like authorization to travel, and I had to have a return ticket. And then we arrived in Paris. I was super stressed. We were all super stressed about this paperwork because you didn't know if you're going to succeed. We went to Buenos Aires from Santiago, and from Buenos Aires, we had a plane to Paris. And there we visit a friend of mine, an old friend from this village in Patagonia. And we spent a couple of days with her. And she also had to sign some kind of paper with her address because I couldn't just travel without any address of residence. So she kind of made this paperwork for me. And then I never saw her again either. She's in those videos. She's singing some Indian songs with the guitar. So it was a very fast-moving situation where people like just passing, you know, very strong relationship with a lot of emotional content, and then the adventure started in Europe. Yeah.
Yeah, there's probably a big change for you. Yeah, this is your first time to visit Europe.
enormous change, because I was very confident that I could travel anyway, because I traveled for 10, 11 years already at that point through South America, and it was more or less the same. You just go somewhere, the cultural center, talk with the people, they are like you sleep there for a few days, I found you some kind of job or some role, and then I have very well developed this skill of, I could go anywhere, any moment, just stop the conversation, walk, hitchhike, go down anywhere, find a place, and have friends and have activities in few days. So when she invited me to go to France, I said, yeah, of course, I can adapt to anything. And then it was really unexpected and unbelievable cultural shock.
So that will
That's for the next.
that be a next episode. Yes, because I can also recall my first time visiting Europe, so it'll be very interesting to share. Yeah, and but today is it's like a movie. Today story you mentioned is like, if I haven't heard from you, I thought is it like a movie
Yes.
movie. I couldn't imagine there's still things like that really happened. Like,
Yes.
yeah,
And in my life, a lot of crazy things like that.
it's
This
amazing.
is why my perception of reality is a little bit different, because so
Mm,
many unreal things happen to me on a regular basis through the years. So I'm kind of used to the reality to take any shape, any moment, basically. Now I am much more stable living here in Europe or in Slovenia for 13 years. I am much more normal in a way for European standards, but my mind is still able to create all kind of things. Just I'm not courageous enough to enact those things, but I know things could change a lot. Yeah.
absolutely, yeah. Well, that's very interesting, very inspiring, actually. Yeah. So yeah, let's talk about your cultural shock
Yeah, tremendous
in
cultural.
in 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 Paris,
In Paris, and then in this French Bretagne, where are these
Yes, yeah,
menhirs and things.
yes, yes. Um, and yeah, so let's talk next time. And thank you very much for today, sharing all those story again. And so thank you everybody for listening to our podcast. And please subscribe. And until next time,
Well, see you next time.
ciao.